The Q Radio Pets Corner.
With Brandy Dog Food, because they're 100% family. You know you're giving them the best.
Q Radio. Q Radio. Coming up, we talk to the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds about their Big Bird Weekend Watch, and we ask, do our dogs really want to dominate us?
The Q Radio Pets Corner.
Q Radio. Just come to the end of the Royal Society's Protection of Birds Big Garden Bird Watch Weekend, and joining me to talk all things bird watching is Amy Ryan, the Media and Events Officer.
Hi Sharon.
So what kind of response did you get, Amy?
Okay, the Big Garden Bird Watch, it's been running now for 35 years, so we kind of have a core band of people that do it every year. But this year we're really excited that we had so many new people taking an interest. Last year we had 10,000 people here in Northern Ireland and about 600,000 across the UK as a whole. So we're hoping to have matched or beaten last year's target. Really, it's an awareness project, first of all, a citizen science project. It's about getting people involved, getting them inspired to go out into their own gardens and parks and just kind of look around them, spend 1 hour and just count what they see. We can sort of crunch the numbers by postcode and really work out what species are doing well in certain areas and where they're struggling in other areas.
You've also got the big school watch, and that's going to continue into February. So what kind of work will you be doing with the children?
Yes, Big Schools Birdwatch runs until the 14th of February. So our education team are working really, really hard. They're going around schools all across the province and getting kids outside into their school grounds, educating them on all things birds and wildlife, and just really trying to strengthen that connection with nature.
It's great to keep that education about nature going with young children as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I suppose as we become more urbanised and there's so many gadgets and things for kids to do indoors, that sort of going and playing outside has become really alien to a lot of kids. So it's about getting them, as I say, inspired, getting them excited, something fun for them to do, and then they can take that home to their families, and hopefully spread the message that way.
And I think it's great because then that might create an awareness with people to help the birds get through the winter in terms of feeding and supporting them.
Absolutely. For some of the small birds, putting out some peanuts or some seeds, it can really be the difference between life and death. We're not just interested in birds though. For Big Garden Birdwatch this year, we've also been asking people about other wildlife that comes into their gardens, so hedgehogs and frogs and red squirrels, all those sorts of things, because we recognise that birds don't exist in isolation. So there's loads of great things people can do. Build a log pile, they can buy a hedgehog home, they can even stop mowing a bit of their grass if they're very lazy, because that's fantastic for little creepy crawlies and butterflies and all sorts of things. So there's loads of tips on our website if people want to go on there and get some ideas for something fun to do over the weekend.
The Q Radio Pets Corner.
With Brandy Dog Food, because they're 100% family. Now, we've all heard the expression leader of the pack, and that dogs, if left to their own devices, might try and dominate. But is this theory really correct? Well, joining me to discuss this is Dr. Sarah Millsop, animal behaviourist. So Sarah, there are two schools of thinking in the animal behaviourist world, which is, you train a dog by not letting them dominate, and then there's another school of thinking that is not natural to a dog to want to dominate.
Definitely, we've seen a real rise in this notion of dominance theory over the last number of decades, and I think it's because the dominance theory was given a lot of coverage on various popular dog training TV programs. But what's interesting about the theory of dominance in dogs is that there is absolutely no scientific basis for it, and the reason we started to think that dogs might be behaving in a dominant fashion was because of research that was actually carried out on wolves. So some scientists looked at the behaviour of wolves in a zoo situation and discovered that there was a top individual, so there was somebody that was controlling everything else. But what they discovered whenever they looked at the results of their research was that this was very unusual wolf behaviour. These dogs were being hyper-aggressive simply because they couldn't use the strategies to avoid aggression that they would in the wild. But I think the reason that dominance theory has hung around and has been so devastating for dog welfare over the last number of decades is because it's a really nice, easy solution to some really complicated problems. So dominance trainers will tell you that you will solve any of your dog's problems by doing things like eating first, walking through doors first, not letting them up on the sofa, not letting them up on the bed. And to be perfectly frank, that is a complete load of rubbish. I think it really does demonise our dogs. They are not little dictators attempting to take over our household.
And we'll hear from Sarah again next week when she explains what kind of relationship our dogs actually do want to have with us.
The Q Radio Pets Corner.
With Brandy Dog Food, because they're 100% family. You know you're giving them the best.
Q Radio. Q Radio.